Today I'm going to teach you how to build a community around your hobby and interest and potentially monetize it as well, which is the more advanced application. So let's define two terms first. So the first is going to be community. What do we mean by community? So what we mean by community is a virtual ecosystem that you can build over time on social media platforms, such as, for example, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever you want. And then you can also do this through a variety of other methods. So, for example, you can build a community off a newsletter or email list. You can build a community off of a Patreon where people pay you for exclusive access to events, discounts, etc. So, there are multiple ways to build a community in a virtual ecosystem. And then hobby and interest. So, this is something very interesting because everyone's definition of hobby varies. There are some casual hobbies that a lot of people like to do on the side for like a week. And then there are serious hobbies that a lot of people devote immense amounts of time to. So this can be applied to both short term, medium term, and long term. However, I recommend that if you are trying to potentially monetize your community, then it's essential to think about it in terms of long term timing. So, for example, years, not weeks, not days, and not months. So this is how to build a community around a hobby and interest. And the third caveat is this framework is based off my local specific example, Embassy Life in DC, here in the Washington, DC area of the United States. However, this can be adapted to any other location which you are currently presently in, or on a global scale if you're building off of one specific platform, such as, for example, just YouTube. So how to build a community around a hobby or interest and potentially monetize it. The framework is very simple: hobby, problem, and solution. And so hobby can be anything. So in my case, it is embassy events here in the Washington, D.C. area. But let's pick another example because I realize that's incredibly unique and specific. Let's pick fitness. I like to work out 4 to 5 days a week. And so that is one of my hobbies, which eventually turned into a way of life, let's be honest. And then you notice a problem within said hobby. And so what I mean by problem is something that strikes you as curious and something that you can solve potentially using your own experience and skill set. And it's okay if you don't have much of either. But if you notice something is off, and if you start thinking about it in terms of problems that you can solve by providing value to others, it begins to make you question a lot of things within said hobby. So if fitness is your hobby, then you can notice, for example, the problem of a lot of people being overweight. And then if you want to get even more specific, you target demographic and age range. So 25 to 45-year-old men that are overweight and are struggling to lose weight even if they go to the gym. And so the way that you think about it is by hobby, problem, and then developing a solution to that problem using your own skill set and experience. And don't worry, we'll cover how you can build a solution using various different types of skills and then also draw upon your own personal example. But this is just a simplistic way of showing you the high level concepts. You start off with a hobby that you like, you find a problem that you want to solve, and then you come up with a solution that isn't perfect at first, and that's the whole point. The solution is designed, whatever, in this case, whatever the hobby is, the solution is designed to evolve over time. So what you start out with at first will not be what you end with many, many, many years later. The whole process is designed to constantly be iterated and experimented upon. Just keep that in mind. Your solution can take many different forms. However, for the sake of simplicity, let's talk about three different types. So the first are products. So there are digital products and then there are physical products that can be subdivided. So digital products are guides, for example, that you can design through a PDF format, like using the fitness example from before, a 90-page meal plan that your clients use to cook throughout the year and lose weight. That's an example. You sell it on your website once as an example, but you constantly update it because a digital product can allow you to have multiple iterations that you constantly add value to. A physical product could be, for example, you get really entrepreneurial and then you decide to give each of your clients home cooked meals that you put in a box and that you ship to their physical place. That would be a physical product. Maybe not as complicated as that, but you get the idea. So those are products. The second are services. So services are what you would offer, for example, in the form of, like, let's say a personal trainer. You meet with your client at a local gym 2 to 3 times a week. You offer a service. However, it's important to remember that once you do a service-based business, it gets more complicated as you have to schedule appointments, you have to look at your timing when it comes to your schedule, you have to respond to emails, et cetera, et cetera. So services are the next evolution, but then also require more complexity and effort and time. The third would be consulting. And so, what I mean by consulting is, let's say you have clients that are mid journey wise. So, like they started losing weight, but they are hitting a plateau, or they can't lose a certain amount past 4 months. So, you would be hired as a consultant after they see your Instagram page or whatever. And then they're like, oh my God, this guy can help me lose more weight in more months. That's an example of a consulting service because they would get on a call with you for, let's say $500 for an hour, an extreme example, but it's out there. And that's what consulting is. So you have products, you have services, and then you have consulting, which are three major types of solutions. And there are many more out there, but I'm just keeping it simple. And so within the solution process, you can build. And what I mean by build is you can have two categories of skill sets which encompass a lot more skills within them. So evergreen. Evergreen skills are what allow you to attain a basic foundation in an ever-changing world. That's why it's called evergreen. So for example, speaking with a YouTube channel, that's one skill that's evergreen. Writing, sales, marketing, those are all evergreen skills that will let you develop a solid foundation that you can catapult yourself to the next level with. And then content. So what we mean by content is obviously all the stuff that you see on these platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, but there's various different forms, like there's short form content, there's medium form content, and there's long form content, which we'll cover in another video. Long form content, for example, is a newsletter that you write once a week to your fitness clients, advising them on the latest trends and how to track their calories effectively. And so with content skills, it encompasses a lot more than what you might think. You have freelancing, you have video editing, you have graphic design. Think about all the ways you can design content in your life and then stem that into the category. So graphic design using Canva, that's exactly what I'm using now, Photoshop, et cetera, et cetera. So with the combination of evergreen skills and content skills, you build your solution. And remember that you don't need to necessarily have one type of solution. You can mix and match. However, it also depends on how much time you can devote to building your community, which is a business in itself. So just remember that. You can try one out. And as a personal example, I have built a product which I've released, and I'm starting to dip into a service-based business as well. But it has consumed my life. So you have that there. Once you are finished with the building process, you now have a product that can potentially allow you to monetize your community. And I know what you're going to say, Nate, what are you talking about? I thought you said that there are three major types of solutions. Yes, but here's the thing. Product is what I did for my community that is barely a year old. And so that is what I'm using for the sake of my own example that hopefully you can relate to with my personal experience. And so the most difficult part of all of this is not the building part. It's not coming up with a solution. It's the monetization aspect. And truth be told, that's something that I'm still working on because my Embassy Life in DC project, which focuses on international embassy and cultural events in the DC area. You've heard me talk about it if you watch my previous videos. I allude to it all the time. The most difficult part is monetizing. And it's frustrating because with the age of the internet, like you see all these financial gurus that always tell you like build a product, build a service, build a consulting agency, you'll make $1 million in your first week. And that's such a lie because the thing is that like it takes time to reach that level unless you have capital, which gives you more leverage, which you can buy an agency or you already have clients already signed on. But that's not the point. The point is that monetization is something that you should not get hung up on because it is not a quick fix solution. The thing is that unfortunately, a lot of people get into this game of building a community around a hobby or interest that they enjoy, and then the idea of monetizing eventually comes into play a year later or something like that. I'm spending all this time developing a community. I need to monetize this to justify the amount of time that I pour into it. But the problem is that like everyone expects to make so much money right off the bat. And that's not the way that it works, or at least it hasn't for me. So, quick disclaimer, again, I don't make a lot of money off of the Embassy Life in DC project. I am trying to experiment with various different ways of monetization that I can cover in a future video, but I'm just being truthful. I have a day job that pays for this, YouTube, you know what I mean? I'm doing this off of work in case anyone from work is watching. Just want to make that very clear. And it's just the idea of monetization can consume you. So I'm just warning you right now, don't expect to make millions of dollars in your first week if you try to monetize it. Just FYI. So, with the way that you can monetize products, services, coaching, so for example, you can sell a digital guide. That's what I plan to do down the line. Of course, with the evergreen skill of marketing, you have to realize that you have to provide your audience with freebies in order to get to that point in the first place. So freebies first, and then eventually provide something with so much value that your audience would be more than willing to buy it. That's just being honest. In terms of monetization, there's the product route, there's the services route where you charge X number per hour or whatever for dollars, and then consulting is even more. So there's high ticket, medium ticket, low ticket, etc. So this is the entire process where you are building a virtual community around something you enjoy. You find a hobby, you notice a problem, you come up with a solution, you build a solution using evergreen skills of writing, sales, marketing, and speaking, content skills with, Photoshop design, Canva, graphic design, freelancing, etc. You build a product, come up with a service, you are a consultant, and then eventually you monetize it. That's the whole way the framework works. So hopefully you found value out of this. This is the framework that I came up with just using my own Embassy Life in DC example. Like and subscribe for more as we cover potentially more. Let me know what aspects you want me to cover more on. Trust me, I can narrate a ton about how to monetize stuff based on the courses that I've taken, the knowledge that I've learned. We can go into different types of products. Honestly, whatever you want. Or I'll just go into this myself if no one watches this video. So like and subscribe for more. Love you guys. Thank you so much for the attention and stuff like that. And I really hope this provides some value into the future also for y'all. See you around.